It was all a lie. The hospital bombing was a hoax. I have to say, folks, I tried to reserve judgment yesterday. I tried to, not take any hard, solid position on who bombed what. But something I didn't question, that I mistakenly didn't question, was the fact that actually a hospital got bombed, blown up, and then hundreds of people were dead. I thought that part was probably accurate, since that was being reported everywhere. It seems like that's something that's pretty easy to verify. So, why would you lie about that? And then come morning, okay, the sun comes up. We get pictures of the aftermath of the bombing of the hospital. And guess what? There aren't hundreds of bodies strewn about. It didn't happen. They made it up. There appears to be a bomb that went off in the parking lot, but it wasn't a bunker buster. It wasn't a JDAM. At least from the pictures I've seen, comparing what the crater looks like from a JDAM and the almost non-existent crater in the parking lot of this hospital, none of the buildings are knocked down. The windows were blown out, like in the chapel they were showing. But I don't know how many people, if any. I mean, hopefully no one died in this explosion. I would always hope that nobody dies. But I don't know. Certainly could this have killed people? Definitely. It could have killed quite a few people if there were a bunch of people standing around here. But this was outside, in the parking lot, and it didn't knock down the buildings. The hospital is still standing. So the whole thing basically was a hoax, because we were told 500 people at least dead. Apparently, as it got later into the night, they upped the number to 900. I mean, the highest that I saw was 500. The first number was 300, then 500, then apparently 900 they said were dead. And it was just a lie. And this should be, I think, sobering for, because I'm sure there probably aren't pro-Israel people who could even tolerate listening to my channel, because I'm not 100% pro-Israel. And if you're not 100% pro-Israel, you are the devil. You're an anti-Semite, as Ben Shapiro has reminded us all. You're either, or as Glenn Beck likes to put it, you're either one of the guards at Auschwitz, or you are Oscar Schindler. There's no in between. And of course, the Oscar Schindlers are the people who buy everything that the Israeli government propaganda puts out, hook, line, and sinker. You do that, you're Oscar Schindler. If you question Israel, you are basically one of the guards at Auschwitz. But what this shows is that you also can't have blind loyalty to the other side and what they say. Because guess what? They tell just as big lies. The Hamas Ministry of Health held a press conference with bodies stacked all around them, saying these are the people who were killed in this blast, and there's 500 more people like them, all strewn throughout the rubble. And it's not like the footage of the hospital not being blown up, being hit by a very small explosion, not a bunker buster, not a JDAM, not being leveled to the ground, which we know Israel has the capability when they want to. If they want to do a controlled demolition, Building 7 style, in Gaza, they have no problem doing that. And the Israelis are proud of it. Most of the time, they brag about it. They put the video out. In fact, I think yesterday they put a video out of them blowing up a building in the safe zone that they told people to flee to. Anyway, this clearly was not that. And so it's stupid. Oh, and by the way, what I was trying to say is that the footage that we were getting, it's not like this footage is coming from CNN or something. The footage that I saw, it was being reported by TASS. That's who published the footage in the morning after, showing the damage at this hospital. It was broken windows, burned out cars, that was the extent of it. And that would be consistent with Israel's story that, hey, this was probably just a Hamas rocket that misfired, or Palestinian Islamic Jihad or whoever, even though they were tweeting out fake videos from 2022, or old videos, I should say, that were not from this conflict. And then they were taking down videos that like had the timestamp that it would, from what I understand, it was impossible that this could have been the same rocket, based on the timestamp of the videos that Israel was putting out. But all in all, I have to say, they got this one right. And so you can't trust any of these folks. They're both willing to lie and hold up fake deaths. They're both willing to kill civilians. But that doesn't make them equal. They're different. They're different people. They both do bad things. They have different ideologies. They have different means. They have different body counts. And that's what I tried to focus on yesterday. I said whether or not Israel killed these people or not, Israel's already Israel's response to what happened on October the 7th is totally disproportional. If you want to look at it that way. If you want to just look at it as Israel needed to go into Gaza and get vengeance for the people who were killed, so they kill 1,000 of ours, we kill 1,000 of theirs. That's still not good. That's not defensible. That's still evil. But Israel has more than done that, even without the supposed 500 dead from the hospital. The last I saw the count, like 2 days ago, it was like 2,700 people in Gaza dead. And so I don't know how much Hamas even cares about like optics or public relations, but lying about this so blatantly is pretty darn stupid. You lie about stuff when it's sort of a gray area and you feel like you can get away with it. You do what Israel does, which is you say, oh, well, we didn't kill any civilians, and then when evidence of dead civilians comes out, then you admit, well, they were those were enemy combatants, and then when you get close-ups and it's like, oh wait, these are kids, it's like, well, they were being used as human shields, so it's Hamas's fault. That's what you do. You only give in as much as you have to, and whatever the evidence is, you spin that. Whatever is public, you spin that in your favor. But they way oversold this. Because here's the thing: if you're Hamas and you accidentally blow up a hospital yourself, you're damn right you're going to blame that on Israel. Of course you would. And don't think that the Israelis wouldn't do the exact same thing. If Israel was trying to shoot a missile towards Gaza and it accidentally hit an Israeli hospital, Israel would, of course, blame that on Hamas. Even when they eventually admit that it was their missile that did it, they would say, well, we were only firing that missile because we're at war with Hamas, so it's Hamas's fault that we blew up the hospital. They would both do this. As they say, truth is the first casualty in war. But it's stupid, and it's why you can't just take your word for anybody, or take your word from anybody. I mean, think about it like with the ridiculous numbers coming out of Ukraine on casualties. You couldn't believe any of the numbers. You couldn't believe the Ruskies, and you couldn't believe the Ukrainians. But the Ukrainians were oftentimes far more absurd in their estimates. Like they were just clearly like that's not true. You just kind of could know nothing. And then with the Russians, more of the time they seem somewhat plausible, but it's like I'm not going to assume that you're telling the truth. So anyway, even though I tried, and I guess I should have said this right at the beginning, and I started to, and then I got sidetracked. I tried to be non-committal on this, but I probably was leaning towards thinking it was true in how I said. Now, I definitely was inside, but like in my head, I was kind of leaning towards, okay, this is probably what happened. But I didn't want to commit to that in the video because I knew that the facts didn't match that we did not have the facts yet on that. So I didn't go back and listen to yesterday. But if I did say anything that was like committal, saying like overtly, okay, we know for a fact this Israel did this, that was a mistake, and I shouldn't have done that. But if I remember correctly, what I was saying was I was citing the videos that I saw of people comparing like a video of this strike that was alleged to be of this strike, and then comparing the sound of that to a JDAM and the velocity, and assuming that that video was true, which I guess that what I would have to conclude based on what we've seen here, because the video, the close-up video, which I took more seriously than the super grainy like Sasquatch video that Israel put out, I found that more credible because it was close up. It should have been easier to debunk. Like, hey, that's not that building. I know that area. That doesn't look like, that's not where that building is. This is a totally different place. Oh, this is an old video. I was expecting that sort of debunking never came up of that video that I saw. So that's why I kind of took that one more seriously. And it did sound like the JDAM thing. But considering how much it sounded and looked like a JDAM, and we know that JDAMs have been used in Gaza in the past, I'm leaning towards thinking that video that yesterday that was going around was an old video and that people just didn't identify it. Because I would be shocked if what I saw in that video resulted in what actually happened at the hospital. But anyway, all in all, I want to end on a positive note, because it is a good thing that this turned out not to be true. It's good that the hospital wasn't blown up. We don't want to see hospitals blown up. Apparently there was another hospital that had already been bombed this week, which I guess is why a lot of people were really quick to jump on this, because there was a smaller, I guess you'd probably call it a clinic, that had already been bombed. So yeah, mostly a hoax. It is true that there was a bomb that technically hit this complex, but it did not do the kind of damage that we were told. So with that said, I will see you folks back here tomorrow.